What is it? Can you put your finger on it? This is now the third straight game they've gone without a goal. This is a team that got bombed out of the World Cup. What's up with Germany?
I think so often you see a team that has had as much success as Germany had had in a length of time, and nobody comes in to change anything, to freshen it up, to keep it going. Even if you looked at this side, we were talking about this game when the side was announced. What is Yogi Löw changed from the team that did so poorly in the World Cup? It's really the same squad. At some stage, you got to make some changes, and there's obviously some reasons why they're not getting the results. And something's got to change, and if Yogi Löw doesn't change it quickly, it's going to be him that's going to be the person to change.
I mean, how close are we to that? It seems like he's got an awfully long leash. It doesn't seem to be that the German Federation is going to have some kind of quick trigger reaction here. They certainly didn't after the World Cup.
They didn't, and I think they were giving him the benefit of the doubt, just saying, hey, maybe this is a little blip. We have good players. We can get this right. Well, they haven't got it right. They do have good players. We know they have a good crop of young players as well, because at Confederation Cup 2 years ago,
they rolled everybody.
They rolled everybody with their under-23s. So you would think that there would be these young players coming through and they'd be given the opportunities. Well, that hasn't been the case. And it's one thing kind of losing, having a blip, but when then you get rolled up by your kind of your biggest rival in the Netherlands, then it's there's going to be some pressure at home. You saw, I don't know if you were watching the game, the reaction of the German fans after the game, just kind of screaming and throwing stuff, and
they're not accustomed to this.
Well, I think it had been 16 years.
Yep, 2002. Yeah, you're right. The last time that the Dutch beat Germany.
Yeah, so it's some not very happy German fans.
What about specifically the case of Leroy Sané? This is a guy who's left out of the World Cup, left out of the starting 11 for this match. What am I missing?
Well, I don't think we really know. There obviously is something when he goes into the German squad that just has rubbed Yogi Löw the wrong way, and he doesn't see him as the team guy it's kind of one of those situations that you just know there's something going on behind the scenes. It's not just ability, it's not just playing. And also there's always a little bit too, I think, when you're a young player and you left Germany early, it's a little bit of, well, you're kind of over there, we're not really paying much attention to you, but there's something definitely going on behind the scenes.
Germany right now, last place in their group. Could you see them getting relegated? Could you see them in League B?
Look at that group, though. Let's be honest.
No, but the rules
You've got the World Cup winners.
If you're last, you're down.
Well, of course.
That's a reality for Germany right now. Who would have thought we'd be saying that?
But that's part of this kind of format with only 3 teams, and when you put a lot of good teams together. Look, we know Holland has struggled in the last few years. We know that they haven't been the team that we've expected, but at the same time, we know they always have a group of talented players coming through, and it's just a matter of time before they get going again. You come across a France side that just won the World Cup. You then have a German side that had won the previous World Cup, but now is struggling to try to figure out that next new identity. And this is what happens. You find yourself in a little rebuilding situation, and you find yourself relegated from the Nations League A group.
I know the match maybe wasn't 3-0 if you watched all 90 minutes of it, but are the Dutch back?
No.
Why not?
Not
Why
yet.
do you say that? You say it so authoritatively.
I say it so authoritatively because even
it's a 3-0 win against Germany.
No, it's a 1-0 win against Germany until injury time, where Germany's throwing numbers forward. And Germany should have at least found an equalizer after the Dutch went 1-0 up.
If they're not back, it's at least a sign of, I would say, significant progress?
There's definitely some hope. I think there's some hope within the Dutch fans that there's brighter things coming.
All right, let's change gears here a little bit. I don't know if it's maybe surprising news, but I think in some way it's surprising. Thierry Henry is now officially in charge at Monaco. This is a guy with no top-level managerial experience. He's been the assistant coach, but this is a big job for somebody's first job, even if you are Thierry Henry, right?
Well, it is a big job, and and sometimes you get that benefit of the doubt if you're an ex-player. Granted, it was a long time ago he played for Monaco, but you know, you could tell, I think, after he kind of returned, I think it was a little bit of a surprise when he joined Roberto Martinez's coaching staff for the Belgian national team. And then at that point, you kind of realized that he was pretty serious about getting into coaching. And I bet he's probably as surprised as a lot of people that the first chance he gets is with a club the size of Monaco.
They are potentially in a relegation dogfight.
It's a little early to be talking relegation.
All right, well, they're 18th right now. I mean,
it's a slow start.
But it's either way, tough spot for him to go into. When you were playing against...
But look at this way, Seb. You're not going to go in there if they're at the top because you're not going to. Somebody's not going to get fired.
He was a contemporary of yours.
Yes.
Did you see him as a guy who might eventually step into management?
It's difficult. I think if I never, I played against Thierry and I knew Thierry off the field a little bit, but not to the point where we sat down and had dinners and talked. Some of my ex-teammates you knew because of the time you were with them and the way they analyzed things that you thought, yeah, this guy's probably going to get into management when he's done playing. I never heard that about Thierry, but it was pretty clear in the last few years that he was pretty excited about that.
Best you ever faced off against?
Well, he's in the... I faced off against a few people, and Thierry was definitely one of them.
In the Premier League, is he at the top of that list?
He's in the short list, definitely. I think you have to throw Dennis Bergkamp into that. I think you could throw Alan Shearer in there. You could throw Eric Cantona, Ryan Giggs. There's some players that really performed at a high level for a long, long time, and Thierry was obviously one of them.
So let's talk about the postseason with LAFC. When we talk expansion teams in MLS, we always go back to the '98 Chicago Fire. Do you see anything in this LAFC team that suggests they can not only win the West, but maybe even win MLS Cup?
Well, they've been consistent throughout the year. They've got big players performing. Obviously, Vela at the top of the heap, but I think they're a little bit too suspect defensively. I don't think they're tight enough. At times, they're just conceding too many goals, and I think you need to be more consistent defensively. I don't know if they can kind of shut things out defensively, or they're just, we're going to attack, we're going to score goals, we're going to be entertaining. And I think in the playoffs, when you're having two-legged ties, you can't afford to concede, for example, like that second goal, because that could be the difference in a two-legged tie if you go through or not.
He had 2 goals the other night, 13 now on the season to go along with 12 assists. Are you surprised at how good Carlos Vela has been in MLS?
No, not at all. I think Vela came in because he wanted to come in. I think sometimes if a player isn't ready to leave Europe and he kind of thinks like maybe I'm going to come home because I'm getting a great offer or whatever, he was excited to come to LAFC. And everything I'm hearing from the LAFC camp from the very beginning of preseason is he sets an example every day out at training. And I think when you are able to do that and you're not only just showing up to play games and be a draw for your crowd, but when you're actually taking it seriously and doing things the right way every day out, you're going to perform because he obviously has the talent. And when and we've seen that with a lot of big name signings in MLS. If they come in and they do things the right way, they're successful, and Vela has done exactly that.
I think the only team in Major League Soccer to score more this season is Atlanta United. So it's not just Carlos Vela. What about Diamante? I mean, he's been amazing since joining the team. I think he's got 12 goals in something like 16 games.
Well, the one nice thing about LAFC is they're not dependent on one person. They know they can spread it around a little bit, and Diamante has been a perfect, big target guy up front, being able to run, get in. You saw him get on the end of the cross. Those types of things are really important. But I still am going to go back to this LAFC team. There's been too many occasions where they've conceded 4 goals, 5 goals. It's just been that inconsistency in their team defending, and I think that if they are going to go far in the playoffs, they're going to have to get that side of their game right. I know they can score goals. I know they can have a lot of flair going forward, but can they defend as a team?
Does that surprise you about a Bob Bradley team?
I think sometimes when you're particularly an expansion team, you're finding pieces, and you're putting a lot of pieces together, and maybe you don't have that time to go, okay, this piece needs to go here, and we need to move. They really went to be entertaining and attack, and they have been, and it's proven it. They've, as you mentioned, the second most goals of any team in MLS. But sometimes that comes at a cost, and the cost is that if you spend a lot in one area of MLS, you're not going to be able to spend a lot in another area, and they've paid the price for it.
Great to have you with us here on Extra Time. Of course, hashtag FC Extra Time, the best way to get us your questions. Casey Keller, Sebastian Salazar with you in the ESPN FC studios. We got a couple good ones here, Case.
All right.
All right, let's start with something that caught my attention a little bit earlier today. Our friend Kartik O wants to know, what are your views on Diego Maradona's comments about Lionel Messi saying the Barcelona star is not a leader? And I believe he was saying you can't have a leader when a guy's in the bathroom 20 times before a game, referencing some of Messi's pregame nerves or habits or what have you. But what do you think, dude? What do you think of El Pibe de Oro here?
Do people actually listen to Maradona for more than just a soundbite? I mean,
he's been doing a lot of interviews of late. He's now managing in the 2nd division of Mexico, so he's getting a lot of run.
Well, fantastic for Diego. But look, obviously a phenomenal player in his day and still a tremendous personality. But I'm not really listening a lot of what Diego Maradona has to say when it comes to things like this. Diego, then look, there's a part of it that maybe Lionel Messi isn't the stereotypical captain leader of a team and stuff like that. But you know, take nothing away. I mean, arguably, you know, one of the best players of all time.
What would you do if Maradona walked into your dressing room as the coach? What would your reaction be?
Well, if he's the coach, you got to do whatever you got to do when he's the coach. But you're definitely you're taking a lot of stuff that he says with a grain of salt. That's for sure.
All right, Steven wants to know, why when people talk about the GOAT, greatest of all time, they don't mention the goalkeeper? Aha, this is a tee up for you, Casey. Who is your GOAT of the gloves?
I think you have to look. I mean, I think with any sport, I think you're looking at stuff that is generational.
Okay.
You know, for me as a kid, I was a big Peter Shilton fan. I think Gordon Banks was probably ahead of in the generation before that. I was a Tony Schumacher fan, kind of in that stage, and then further on, I mean, you're looking at guys like, you know, more getting toward my contemporaries when you're seeing guys like, you know, Peter Schmeichel, and I think Peter Cech had a phenomenal run at one stage, and you know, I think Neuer right now. I don't think you can say this is the best person ever. I think there's been a lot of good goalkeepers.
Of your contemporaries, and you can't pick yourself. You have
I'm
one.
not gonna pick myself.
That's what I'm saying. But you've got one match to win. Who do you pick?
Right now?
Sure.
Right now, I don't know. I know he didn't have necessarily the best game, and he was injured for a long time. But I still think Neuer is
really
there. Yeah.
Neuer. Okay. All right. Next question. Ankit wants to know. Neuer clearly looks out of sorts. Yet, what is this? Oh, Ter Stegen. Sorry,
right.
Doesn't start. Also being lobbied out of team. Is this the time to get a whole set of management for German FA? I think new management is what Ankit's asking about.
Yeah, I think
you kind of hinted at that in the show.
No,
right?
I think it is time, and I agree with the Neuer part. I was a little surprised that they started Neuer in the World Cup. I thought when you have a player like Ter Stegen, it's not as if they have no other option.
Well, and Neuer had so little run-up before that, right?
Oh, no, he was injured the whole season.
6-8 months of inactivity.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think that's starting to creep in, because a lot of time what happens is when you've been out injured for a while, and then you come back, there's that instant adrenaline, and you're like, oh, wow, I haven't lost anything. I feel like I'm right here. And then after a few games, it kind of settles in a little bit. And Neuer is kind of going through a little bit of that right now. And you would thought when you have such a competent number 2 in Ter Stegen, it made a great point to say, hey, let's play this guy. And then maybe that'll motivate Neuer a little bit more to get back to form.
What about generally the idea of Germany? You know, they've been kind of, I think, criticized for maybe how they didn't age out the past generation, one that won the 2014 World Cup.
Spain was criticized exactly the same.
But is that the fundamental issue with Germany, or is there something more? Is it just they haven't recycled all the talent we saw at Confed Cup? That hasn't come through?
I think that's a part of it. I think it's always important to continually be bringing new talent through. When you see good teams, and it happens a little bit easier sometimes with club teams because you can go into the transfer market, but you'll hear them say that you always have to bring fresh blood into the locker room to really, even to keep guys on their toes, keep stuff fresh, keep it going, because you don't really know until it's too late.
Right. When
that gets stagnant and you're like, oh, what happened? And then it's too late, and then you get a string of bad results. And in some clubs, you know, you can't afford that. And in most national teams, you can't afford that. And Jogi Löw has been getting a big benefit of the doubt. We'll see what happens here in the next couple of weeks. Particularly, let's say they take a number against France in a couple of days, and you lose
To Holland, yeah, you used the Netherlands, and now you've lost to France.
Yeah, and then there's not going to be a lot of happy German fans because those string of results don't happen.
I think in the last 12 months they played 12 matches. They've won only 3.
Yeah.
For a national team program like
well,
Germany.
and when you're losing to teams in World Cups like Mexico and
easy
and South Korea, but no. But you got to remember, you're Germany.
Yes. Yeah.
If you lose to Brazil because you matched up in a quarterfinal, that's one thing. But when you're losing group stages against teams that you should be beating, or at least scrambling a draw against one of them, beating the other one, getting through, and then going into the knockout stages, and when you see a consistency of poor results for Germany, something has to change.